Death is not silence. It is the soul remembering its own light.
Stop everything you're doing right now before this video is deleted forever from YouTube. Come closer and listen. Everything you think you know about death is wrong. Imagine an ancient manuscript hidden for centuries that reveals no fluff, no tricks, exactly what happens the moment we take our last breath. It's not just a book about the afterlife. It's a detailed map, a real instruction manual for passing through the unknown. But be warned, wasting a single moment on that journey can condemn your soul to eternal oblivion. Today, you're going to access the best-kept secret of all, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, a sacred guide created more than 1,000 years ago by Eastern sages, not only to describe what awaits us after death, but to lead us through every portal, every universe, every choice. What I'm about to share with you has the power to transform everything, the way you live, the way you die, and how you understand what's real. Once you see this, there's no going back. Ready to face the ultimate truth? Science may have advanced. We can manipulate matter, travel space, decode genomes. But when it comes to death, we feel as clueless as our ancestors on the icy peaks of the Himalayas. Maybe that's why this book still fascinates monks, scholars, and seekers worldwide. It dares to answer humanity's most feared question, and it goes further. It declares that consciousness doesn't vanish when the body stops. On the contrary, it begins a journey through invisible energy fields, crossing realities that challenge everything we understand about life, freedom, and rebirth. And here's a disturbing detail. Near-death accounts documented by names like Dr. Raymond Moody echo the descriptions in the Tibetan Book of the Dead. People who came back after being declared clinically dead report flashes of light, encounters with spiritual beings, absolute peace. Coincidence? Or are these narratives, spanning cultures and time, exposing the real weave of consciousness? What if those revelations could open portals inside your mind, expanding your understanding of who you really are? What if studying that ancient text were the key to decoding life energy, the frequency that shapes our reality and the invisible field our souls pass through? The originality of this book isn't just in describing what the other life is like, but in forcing us to look at today. By facing the unknown, you realize everything here is temporary. And only when we truly understand that impermanence do we manage to live with clarity, compassion, and purpose. Behind all the mysticism, there's an urgency. You don't need to wait for death to access these teachings. Every transition, every moment of doubt, every crossroads in your daily life is your little Bardo. Yes, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, or Bardo Thodol, isn't just for the dying. It's for anyone going through the hard transitions of existence. At the heart of this ancient knowledge is the concept of Bardo. In Tibetan, Bardo is more than the interval between death and rebirth. It's any state of suspension, of crossing, of waiting. How many times have you felt adrift between what's behind you and what hasn't arrived yet? Every undefined phase, every rupture, is a laboratory to awaken your own spirituality. The big secret? There are 3 Bardos. The Bardo of death, with the shock of truth scandalously revealing your essence. The Bardo of visions, where surreal and blinding landscapes confront you. And note, those images don't come from outside, but from your own energy field. And the Bardo of rebirth, where your consciousness, freed from matter, shapes the first outlines of the new journey. What few know is that these states aren't a privilege for the dead. They show up in everyday life, asking you to wake up now. Take a deep breath. Carry this wisdom with you. Few have made it this far, and even fewer have had the courage to apply what they learned. But you have access to this unique, almost forbidden knowledge. If you want to break the limits of the ordinary, share this video and leave a comment. Are you ready to cross your own Bardo? And ask yourself, if there's a guide this ancient and precise, what other mysteries are waiting for whoever dares to look deeper? I'll see you on the other side. When you're completely immersed in creating something, lost in art or thought, time disappears. You cross the Bardo of visions, a subtle threshold where the familiar dissolves to reveal hidden inner worlds. Every time you face a choice that could change the course of your life, you're experiencing your own Bardo of rebirth, that moment when the future isn't written yet, and your wishes sketch new paths. Now that you know those portals, let's dive even deeper. What really happens in the fraction of a second when life leaves the body? Get ready, because it's time to enter the heart of the first Bardo, that final moment where the most absolute opportunity for liberation is found. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of what always was, facing a light so intense, so pure, it seems to hold the secrets of the universe itself. Behind you, everything that was your life dissolves into a blur, a distant memory that fades as you surrender to that decisive instant. For Tibetan wisdom and recent research on near-death experiences, this is no ordinary event. It's the sacred portal where your consciousness can be freed or reborn. When your last breath leaves, your heart slows and your physical senses fall silent. Your consciousness awakens to an unprecedented clarity. This is what they call the clear light, a radiant brilliance that, according to the Bardo Thodol, represents the purest essence of the mind. It's not a comforting illusion or a passing dream. It's actually absolute truth, the naked reality behind masks you can't even imagine in everyday life. But the stakes are high. If you can recognize that light as your true essence, as the totality of your consciousness, you can reach final liberation in a single instant. Imagine escaping forever the endless cycle of birth and death, achieving a freedom beyond human imagination. Yet that moment is so fleeting and powerful that many miss it like a dream upon waking. Those who aren't prepared, who didn't cultivate mind consciousness in life, often feel that glow as something strange and terrifying, an external unknown force. Fear then drives the soul back, sinking deeper into the Bardo worlds, moving away from illumination and preparing to reincarnate. This final transition hides a hidden truth. It represents the last opportunity for your life's enlightenment, a supreme test that few other experiences can match. The incredible thing is that this opportunity isn't reserved only for death. Tibetan masters and major researchers, like noted neuroscientist Dr. Sam Parnia, author of studies on near-death experiences, point out that it's possible to access that clear light in life through deep spiritual practices and dedicated meditation techniques. They're like rehearsals for the most important hour of your existence. But how do you prepare for that final moment? By developing the habit of observing the mind and practicing mindful meditation. That way, you train your perception to recognize the clear light, not as something strange, but as your true self. Tibetan teaching and modern science agree that preparation turns fear into power, confusion into luminescent clarity. Imagine facing death not as a gloomy end, but as the purest liberation, a return to the divine. Still, for many, the journey doesn't end there. If you're not totally ready to recognize that light, the path continues, leading to an explosion of intense visions, vivid sensations, and encounters with images that reflect the deepest archetypes of the mind. Visualize this. You pass through the glow of the light and enter a divine scene, where beings of transcendent beauty and even more shocking monsters present themselves to you. Each figure is actually an internal manifestation, a personification of your greatest fears, secret desires, and unresolved traumas. That is the second Bardo, the Bardo of visions, a deep immersion into the unconscious, where the mind shows its most hidden theater. In that extraordinary scene, you're invited to confront yourself. Are you ready to discover those hidden facets, to face the raw truth that lives inside you? There are no intermediaries here. It's a direct encounter with your essence, where every emotion, every shadow can be transformed. That experience can be scary, but it can also free you. By understanding this process, you can learn to control those projections, to dissolve fears and prepare the soul for the next phase, the Bardo of rebirth. And if you think about it, every crisis, every situation where everything seems to fall apart in your life is itself a small Bardo happening right now. This ancient knowledge isn't just a relic lost in time. It resonates with neuroscience and the psychology of consciousness shifts. Dr. Raymond Moody, a pioneer in studying near-death experiences, confirmed that the accounts of those who've crossed these thresholds aren't simple fantasies, but real windows into dimensions where the energy of the soul manifests in archetypal forms. So don't ignore those signals in your daily life. They show that death and life are a continuous cycle of transformations, a dance of energy and consciousness where you can choose to wake up. Few have access to such secrets. It's a rare, maybe unique opportunity to rewrite your own destiny. Now, before that light fades, make a decision. Do you want to prepare for the greatest journey your soul will take, or would you rather stay in the dark, ruled by fear of the unknown? What I've just revealed isn't a simple story to entertain. It's the definitive guide to navigating between worlds, to recognizing your immense power. And I leave you with a question that will resonate. If this wisdom has existed for millennia, kept like a forbidden treasure, what other mysteries might emerge when you decide to go deeper? This is just the beginning of your journey. You're about to face a truth few dare to confront. In the Bardo of visions, the mind meets spirits that are both serene and violent, living manifestations of everything you carry inside. That Bardo isn't just a parade of beautiful or terrifying images. It reveals the deepest layers of your being, that place where your virtues and shadows coexist in a constant dance. Imagine being surrounded by luminous beings radiating compassion, wisdom, and endless peace. You might picture figures like the Buddha of infinite light, who embodies the wisdom of pure awareness, or sense a crystalline clarity that reflects your mind's potential for perfect balance. Those encounters aren't merely soothing. They can be so powerful they fill your spirit with awe and reverence. But here's the challenge. Can you recognize those presences as projections of your own essence? Can you embrace those spirits as the purest expression of your soul? If your answer is yes, the journey reaches its peak and liberation is within reach. However, for many, that divine light is too hard to face. Those who haven't developed that awareness begin to recoil, and the light distorts. The gentle presences become threatening. Calm faces fill with rage. And suddenly, you're surrounded by fierce spirits with flaming eyes and wild expressions. They don't exist to punish you, but to force you to look at what you've repressed so long. Your pains, fears, anger, and attachments you preferred to ignore. Yet for those who stand firm, those spirits are strict teachers, mirrors of what you must face to transcend. The purpose of the second Bardo isn't to punish, but to reveal the raw truth of your psyche. The Tibetan Book of the Dead teaches that these entities, peaceful or hostile, are shadows projected by your consciousness, amplifying everything that lives in you. They expose your bonds, your hidden desires, and inner ghosts in an unrelenting display that allows no escape. Why does this matter to you now, while you're still alive? Because everything you'll see in the Bardo of visions already lives inside you, right now, shaping every thought, emotion, and decision. The anger you repress, the fear you avoid, the compassion and peace you feel. Those same forces will shape your experience in death. This Bardo challenges you to confront those elements today, while there's still time to change, to transcend. Imagine beginning to see your greatest fears, passions, and doubts as gods and demons within, messengers appearing to reveal what you need to overcome. Psychologists like Carl Jung already noticed this deep connection. For Jung, the gods and demons of the Tibetan Book of the Dead are universal archetypes, figures present in humanity's collective unconscious. They're inevitable projections, invisible until they're understood as parts of ourselves. This insight is powerful. Every time you feel overwhelmed by an intense emotion, you're living an encounter with those inner forces, which aren't punishments but manifestations of your own mind. The second Bardo isn't only about facing fear. It's the journey of integrating all parts of your being. Can you look at your shadows with compassion? Can you confront your fears and frustrations without getting lost in them? That's the route to true liberation, recognizing that those spirits are yourself, multiplied and reflected. But beware, those who fail to gain that perception can turn the experience into a nightmare. The mind, unable to recognize its own nature, gets trapped in its projections, interpreting its creations as external threats. It's like being lost inside a terrifying dream, not knowing how to wake up. And here the danger increases. If you don't recognize those dark spirits as part of you, the risk is sinking even deeper into cycles of fear, illusion, and rebirth, enslaved to the same attachments and rejections you couldn't face. The second Bardo is, at once, a divine mirror and a brutal revelation of your true self. It's your chance to confront yourself, transform your wounds, and free yourself from the burden of many existences. But if you turn away and give in to fear, the darkness will only grow around you. So ask yourself, are you ready to look at your soul naked, to face that divine mirror and accept everything that comes up? Because what you discover can change not only what you believe about death, but about life itself. This is the invitation this millennia-old knowledge offers: a journey into your energy field, an immersion into the frequency of the soul that transcends time and space. Few reach that revelation, and even fewer can live it fully. If you choose to follow this path, you're entering a unique road, marked by self-knowledge and true freedom. And I leave you with a mystery. If your mind can project gods and demons so vivid, what else is hidden in the corners of your consciousness, waiting to be discovered? The answer to that question might be the secret that transforms your reality forever. Get ready to dive even deeper, where the choices you make will determine the course of your existence. Imagine yourself floating in a shapeless sea, where everything you knew has dissolved, but a force, as irresistible as gravity, pushes you forward toward a new reality. You've just entered the Bardo of rebirth, the final stage of this journey that transcends death. In that domain, every thought, every unresolved emotion, every karmic mark you carry becomes the engine that draws the outline of your next life. Your consciousness, now stripped of everything that tied it to the material world, works like a powerful magnet, attracting the experiences that will shape your return. The weight of that moment is immense. The next chapter of your soul will be written and reflects, without filters, the essence of who you are. This isn't a passive transition through the beyond. The process is intense, chaotic, and creative. Every hidden desire, every repressed fear, every choice made or left undone rises to the surface to build the reality that awaits you. In the Bardo of rebirth, there are no illusions or escapes. You are simultaneously the artist and the canvas, sculpting the script of your rebirth. Picture yourself surrounded by a whirlwind of visions, faces, landscapes, entire worlds, possible paths your spirit can walk. Those images aren't loose fantasies. They reflect your inner state. If you've cultivated kindness, wisdom, and self-awareness, you'll see clear, attractive visions pointing to journeys full of opportunities. But if fear, anger, or attachment rule your emotions, those images turn dark and turbulent, signaling deep challenges. Each potential rebirth pulls you through the invisible strings of karma, guiding you toward the life that resonates with your current state. It's not a choice imposed by some external entity, but the honest mirror of your mind, showing the result of your actions, intentions, and accumulated wishes. And here, the intensity rises another level. The decisions you make in that instant, the emotions you cling to, have direct power over your new existence. Your mind becomes a divine compass, aligning with the realm that vibrates at the same frequency as your current energy field. Imagine that clarity as a vortex of emotions and memories, spinning fiercely, pulling you toward one destiny or another. Can you find serenity at the center of that whirlwind to guide you toward liberation? Or will you be swept by the currents of unresolved karma, doomed to repeat the painful cycle of birth and death? Reflect. The visions you find in the Bardo of rebirth aren't just distant images, but vibrant doors, energetic portals that reflect the intensity of the feelings you carry in life: fears, attachments, unrealized dreams. It's like watching a movie of your own past and future lives, each weighing down your soul according to accumulated karma. At the center of each portal, a fundamental question: will you pass through it with wisdom and conscious intention, or will you retreat? That's the hard lesson of this Bardo. We don't choose a new life like we choose a pair of shoes. Our karma, that invisible field built by every act, thought, and emotion, acts like gravity, attracting a life corresponding to the frequency of our soul. Still, there's room for free will. Although the conscious mind doesn't directly control those paths, there remains a spark of choice, a faint ability to influence the outcome. If you can keep a calm, clear awareness, if you emotionally detach and recognize each vision as a mental projection, you can completely transcend karma's bonds. For Tibetan philosophy, this process isn't just a belief about life after death, but a mirror for the life you live now. Every act of kindness, every moment of mindfulness shapes not only this life, but the endless cycle that follows. The third Bardo reveals an essential truth. We're constantly creating the karma that will define our soul's future. Lives don't exist in isolation. They connect in a timeless web where every decision reverberates beyond the present. But if you find yourself trapped in patterns of fear, anger, or attachment, a vital question arises: how to free yourself? The Master's answer is clear. Through mindful meditation and a life guided by awareness, you can transform the energy that drives your path. It's not just about being good or avoiding bad, but deeply understanding your mind, seeing the roots of your behaviors, and dealing with them clearly. The more aware you are in every thought, the less you'll get caught in the turbulent currents of the Bardo of rebirth when your time comes. And this understanding finds support in contemporary neuroscience and psychology, where experts like Dr. Sam Harris argue that meditation practice strengthens our ability to recognize mental patterns and build wiser responses to existence. Remember, karma isn't punishment or reward. It's a universal law, the translation of our own actions projected onto the screen of reality. Every moment lived with clarity increases the power of that awareness, shaping your soul's destiny with more freedom and lucidity. And this is just the beginning of what these ancient teachings can reveal. Are you ready to go deeper? The next step could change your perception forever. After all, if death is only a step, what are we really preparing for as we walk this infinite road? There is an even deeper step on this path to liberation, an opportunity to steer your mind toward a future of wisdom and clarity. The third Bardo reveals a final lesson. The power of your consciousness to create reality isn't limited to life or to death. That creation happens in every moment, shaped by every choice you make. Now, as these ideas resonate in you, reflect. How much of your current life is guided by unconscious patterns? How often do you act out of fear or habit, instead of acting with full attention? The Bardo of Rebirth reminds us that, at its core, every moment is an opportunity to influence the destiny of your soul. So the most intense question arises. If you could change the course of your next life in this very instant, what would you choose, and how would you start shaping it now? Imagine preparing for death as if it were the most important journey of your life, not as a feared ending, but as a deep chance for transformation. This isn't just a poetic idea. It's a core practice in Tibetan Buddhism, which sees life as a training ground, where every thought, every action, every breath is preparation for the final transition. What if you learned to meet death with the same skill and awareness with which you live? What if every moment of mindfulness were a rehearsal for your soul's greatest adventure? Tibetan teachings offer practices that guide not just those who are dying, but those who are living, helping develop clarity, courage, and compassion to face the unknown. One of the most powerful techniques is the transmission of consciousness. Imagine at the moment of death, directing your mind like a precise arrow toward enlightenment. This practice isn't about fear or clinging to life. It's about consciously guiding your awareness beyond this world, even as you let go of it. Could this millennia-old technique be the key to finding peace and freedom, regardless of life's twists and turns? And in practice, how do you begin? A simple, transformative first step is to start each day with a meditation on impermanence. The perception that everything is fleeting and precious changes everything. It makes each moment more vivid, each choice more intentional. It's like training your mind to look at life from the perspective of eternity. What if, instead of fearing the end, you treated every day as a rare opportunity to grow, love, and fully experience life? Tibetans believe that daily reminder of impermanence builds powerful resilience and clarity, preparing you for the final moment with calm and presence. Another essential pillar is Tonglen, a compassion practice where you inhale the world's suffering and exhale love and healing. It seems simple, but it's a revolution for the heart. It breaks down the ego's barriers and expands connection with all beings. In Tibetan Buddhism, cultivating compassion is not a luxury, but a necessity, because an open heart is what transforms the fear of the Bardo into liberation. Also consider the role of mantras, ancient sound vibrations chanted for thousands of years. They're not mere words, but frequencies that align your mind with higher states of consciousness. Imagine the serenity and focus that arise from repeating those sacred sounds, preparing your awareness for the transitions of the Bardo. They're like divine tuning forks, harmonizing your mind with the cosmos. Tibetans use mantras to prepare for death, yes, but also to live with more intention, connected to the present. By practicing them daily, you build mental habits that strengthen your ability to face both life and death with clarity and without fear. Put all this in perspective. These practices go far beyond spiritual exercises. They're tools capable of completely transforming your worldview. When you start to perceive the value of each moment, everything changes. The small worries lose their power, replaced by a clear sense of purpose. That's the real power of preparing for death while you live. You stop being a slave to fear and uncertainty. You become someone empowered, serene, aware that no matter what happens, you'll be equipped to handle it. Now imagine if our culture embraced at least a fraction of this approach. Instead of running from death, we'd learn from it, letting it guide us to live better, with more courage. In Tibetan Buddhism, death is a great teacher, an invitation to exist more authentically. It's not about avoiding it, but about living with such awareness that death stops being a terrifying mystery and becomes a natural part of the path. Could adopting this philosophy lead us to a life less haunted by fear and fuller of genuine joy? What if facing death were the key to unlocking true freedom while we're alive? These practices aren't only for monks isolated in distant mountains. They're within reach of anyone who wants to open their eyes to life and its possibilities. So, are you ready to live with that intensity? Are you willing to use this privileged wisdom to transform your destiny? Remember, few have access to it, and this is a rare opportunity that might not come again. Now imagine a silent guide, a sacred voice whispering forbidden secrets while you lie on your deathbed, surrounded by those you love. These aren't empty words, but a powerful map showing the way through the beyond, offering direction, purpose, and a real chance to break the endless cycle of rebirth. This isn't fiction. It's the transformative experience of using the Tibetan Book of the Dead, the Bardo Thodol, as a tool for a conscious transition. Picture the scene in a Tibetan monastery where a lama, a spiritual teacher who's spent years studying these teachings, sits beside someone about to depart. That guide reads the sacred text, revealing in vivid detail the stages and challenges the soul will face as it leaves the physical body. Those words are more than comfort. They're essential guidance, a beacon that leads the soul through realities and visions most people only dare imagine. Meanwhile, compare this approach with what happens in our modern Western culture, where death is often avoided, ignored, or treated coldly and clinically. In Tibetan Buddhism, death is faced as the deepest transition of all, a carefully prepared event where the Bardo Thodol works as a spiritual compass, guiding the soul through intense visions of dazzling lights, serene deities, and fierce demons, all manifestations of the individual's own mind field. And here's the most impressive twist. Those visions aren't external beings or divine punishments, but reflections of the mind, mirrors of your inner reality. Imagine having a wise guide by your side, helping you recognize this, keeping your awareness calm, centered, and alert, even in the most intense experiences of existence. The Bardo Thodol isn't just a text recited at the edge of death. It's the definitive manual for recognizing the illusions that arise in transition and perceiving the true nature of your consciousness. When the clear light of perception shines in that first Bardo, your guide gently encourages you to merge with that light, to see it as the pure essence of your being. Think of the impact of having such support, someone directing you toward liberation instead of back into the cycle. This teaching claims that death isn't just an end, but a unique, incomparable opportunity for illumination. And what is the role of that guide on the journey? Picture them as a reliable navigator, steering you through unexplored waters. With deep knowledge of the Bardos, they're your safe refuge, reminding you of the wisdom cultivated during life, anchoring your awareness in the face of visions that could overwhelm you, gently redirecting your focus toward the clear light, the pure consciousness beyond all illusion. This is perhaps the deepest expression of compassion in Tibetan culture. Someone walking beside you, connecting worlds, lighting the way in moments on the edge of the unknown. Also consider the instructions the dying person receives. They're told not to fear the radiant light that appears as consciousness begins to separate from the physical body. On the contrary, they're invited to embrace it, recognizing it as the very essence of the mind. Every step of the journey, from the peaceful deities embodying compassion to the wrathful figures revealing hidden fears and desires, is explained in detail. What would your experience of death be like if you were prepared to meet these phases, not as threats, but as opportunities for revelation and liberation? Compare that with common Western practices that turn dying into a merely medical process. In Tibetan Buddhism, death is, like birth, a profound spiritual journey. This view challenges us to rethink how we care for people at life's end. Imagine the peace that comes from knowing death isn't a terrifying leap into the unknown, but a guided journey into the understanding of your own consciousness. The Tibetan Book of the Dead then becomes a faithful companion, offering support as the boundaries between life and death dissolve. You might be thinking, but do these ancient teachings make sense for modern life? The transformative truth is that understanding the mysteries of death isn't a privilege reserved for Tibetan monks. Anyone can benefit from the lessons of the Bardo by cultivating a more mindful life, living with clear intention, and recognizing each day as preparation for this final journey. What if, instead of running from the idea of death, you embraced it as a teacher? Imagine the serenity you'd feel living each day, knowing you're ready for the moment everything changes. Confident you've mastered the art of passing through the greatest of gateways. This path isn't exclusive to monasteries on remote mountains. It's within your reach. Now I ask you, what will you do with this exclusive knowledge? Will you let it pass, or will you use it to transform your life and your death? After all, few people have access to this forbidden wisdom, and this rare opportunity might not come again. Stop everything and pay attention. What if I told you that through conscious dying, you can learn to live with an open heart and a fearless mind? The ancient wisdom of the Bardo, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, reminds us that life and death are two sides of the same coin. What if every day were preparation for the greatest of journeys, not to face it with fear, but with deep acceptance and inner peace? Can you imagine waking up each morning knowing that any breath could be your last? How would that change your decisions, your relationships, the way you see the world? This sacred text isn't just a manual for the dying. It's a revolutionary script for living with true freedom and presence. In the modern world, death is a taboo, a topic avoided, like a hidden monster. But that denial can pull us away from authenticity and the depth of life. Tibet invites us to confront mortality head-on, not as a source of fear, but as a powerful tool for transformation. When you accept this truth, the small angsts dissolve, leaving only what really matters. Imagine bringing the same attention and calm to your day that Tibetan monks reserve for the moment of death. Every ending, every loss, every uncertain phase, these are all mini bardos, small deaths and rebirths. What if, instead of feeling lost in those transitions, you saw them as portals to be reborn and grow? That's the pure essence of Tibetan wisdom. Every ending is just a disguise for a beginning. But how do you bring that awareness into daily life? Start simple. Meditate on impermanence. Tibetan practitioners begin the day recognizing that life is fleeting, a powerful reminder to focus on what's essential. Imagine waking up each day with the clarity that each moment is a unique gift. That shift in perspective can revolutionize your existence. Another transformative practice is the exchange of energy. With each inhale, you absorb others' suffering. As you exhale, you send out love and healing. It may seem small, but that gesture opens the heart, preparing it for the supreme act of detachment when the time comes. And how about learning to recognize the clear light of consciousness? Tibetan teachings show us how to cut through the noise of routine and identify moments of clarity as glimpses of a deeper reality. Every pause, every instant of timeless presence is a contact with the same consciousness that shines in the Bardo of death. Imagine carrying that serenity into your daily tasks, your relationships, even your toughest challenges. How would your responses change? How would your life transform? If you treat each breath, each encounter, as if it were your last, you'll see relationships deepen and petty conflicts lose importance. A sense of vastness arises in every lived moment. By embracing this wisdom, you not only prepare for the end, but revolutionize the now. You go from existing to living with purpose, clarity, and courage. On that path, dying consciously is actually living in full. The Tibetan Book of the Dead invites you to that. To live with the same intensity and attention you'd bring to the final moment. What if, by facing the fear of death, you opened the door to a life full of meaning and beauty you never imagined? Ask yourself, what would it look like to apply this ancestral wisdom in every gesture, every decision, every breath? What transformation would happen if you saw every day as a chance to wake up, a chance to live as if it were your last day? Get ready, because this timeless wisdom can become your ultimate guide, not just to die, but to live with passion and purpose that defy any fear. Now imagine this. A Tibetan text over 1,000 years old might hold the key to questions modern science still struggles to answer. What is consciousness? Can the mind really transcend death? If so, how would that change the way we live? This isn't mystical fantasy. Scientists, psychologists, and philosophers are dedicating serious effort to studying the Book of the Dead with the same attention and respect they give big scientific discoveries. And here, the real journey begins. Now we reach the point where everything becomes truly revolutionary. What if the Tibetan Book of the Dead was right from the start? What if consciousness could actually transcend the physical body? What would change in the way you face life? We're only beginning to understand the possibilities. But one thing is certain. The more we explore near-death states, the more we realize they aren't just about dying, but about accessing deep layers of our own consciousness, right here and now. Imagine living with the deep understanding that death isn't an end, but a transformative journey into the innermost corners of the mind. By contemplating those connections, we place ourselves at the frontier of human understanding, where ancient spiritual traditions and cutting-edge science meet to reveal the mysteries of consciousness. At that crossroads, the Tibetan Book of the Dead invites us to see our lives, our minds, and our final journey in a completely new light. Are you ready to explore what happens when ancient wisdom talks to modern science? What you discover could change everything you thought you knew about life, death, and the nature of reality itself. Consider this deep revelation. Death, far from being the end, is the greatest teacher in the art of living. By walking through the wisdom of the Bardo Thodol, we uncover timeless truths that transcend cultural and religious boundaries. This text challenges you to find courage, not fear, to face your mortality with curiosity. What would it be like to go through each day as if it were your last, aware that every moment is precious and fleeting? What would change in your priorities? How would your relationships transform? Share your thoughts, because this is the conversation that can revolutionize your existence. The wise Trungpa Rinpoche summed up this vision clearly. It all comes down to a new way of seeing ourselves, a practical view that emerges from meditation, radically changing our perception of life and death. By embracing the teachings of the Bardos, we learn to navigate life's transitions with more clarity and serenity, recognizing each change as a small death and rebirth. This adventure into the unknown is just the beginning. If you're ready to go even deeper, to question everything you think you know about who you really are, don't miss our recent video. You are not human, you are human. If you want to keep exploring these mysteries with us, leave a yes in the comments and tell us which hidden truths you want to uncover next. Remember, your thoughts shape your journey. Here, you're not just a spectator. You're part of this family dedicated to philosophical essence. Together, we'll unlock the mysteries that truly matter. Keep shining your light and get ready to dive even deeper.